Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on, quite frankly, February 22nd, 2025, at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, Good. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I use to guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people, depending with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into it, hats off to Storm in the background. He's the one that keeps all the tech running. Okay. He is also the one to make sure that we don't have problem children in this room. Because the reality is, we've got to keep this room safe for virtually everybody. And rest assured, I've had complaints by some people in the past, not recently. Okay, where they've said that Storm is a bully. Well, Storm's not a bully. Storm is doing exactly what I said. What I asked him to. He just happens to know where you come from. Picture him as a technological Santa Claus. He's got a list of people and he knows how to check it twice. And he just doesn't tolerate the problem children. We also have in here now, we have LA Moon, who probably won't be in tonight, but she keeps a close eye on what my health is doing. So, in order for me to avoid dropping dead while I'm on air, although that is a showstopper. And now we have Robert White in with the gold. How you doing, Robert? Glad you could join us. I'm looking at this going, okay, let's take a look at numerology and just ask some little questions. Okay, now, standard numerology, what I've been told is called Pythagorean numerology, uses the numbers from 1 to 9. Now, there are some striking flaws in this. And yes, I know there's so many of you that use numerology and you swear by it. Okay, and I forgot to do something, but many of you swear by it. Okay. Yeah, Robert goes, going okay. I'm still breathing, so it must be okay. I really question whether that's a good gauge. But, the reality is, it depends on your marker of what is bad and what's good. But I take a look at numerology, and so many people look at it, and there are some critical hiccups in my eyes. Now, I do agree wholeheartedly. Everything vibrates to its own rate. Okay, but I don't work with only 9 numbers, and we'll get to why I work with 12 in a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm just about completed a new book on numerology to explain in detail why I look at it differently. Eternity Eternal, how you doing? You are in with the silver. Here's the thing. When you look at vibratory rate, okay, and we look at the at the standard Pythagorean numerological layout, there are 3 numbers, there are 3 letters that start with that come up at the vibration of 1. Now, this does not make any sense to me. Okay, and we'll get into that in 5 seconds here. Philip Blair, you are in with the bronze. How you doing? Now, when you look at it, as I've told you before, everything is connected. Ferret, you are in with honorable mention. Hopefully your day has been going well. Now, here's the thing. If you take a look at everything being connected, You can only have, in my experience, one number vibrating at the number one. But in Pythagorean numerology, you've got, well, quite frankly, you've got at least 10, and that's assuming we stop counting at 11, at 100. Okay, now this doesn't add up. In the alphabet, you have three numbers that vibrate at the number at the vibration of one. Again, we have a problem because you cannot, and there's only one letter starting the alphabet, unless you're using a really weird alphabet. Rachel, no, caught Rachel. There's Philip. We've got eternity. There's Robert, gold, silver, bronze. Honorable mention, Rachel Andrews. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, the Western alphabet, and I have no idea what alphabet label it is. I really don't care. Okay, the label isn't the important factor. Every alphabet across the cosmos has one letter at the beginning of it. Only one. Okay, so why do people rely on a system that has three? Okay, now that's the two biggest flaws right off the bat. Okay, and this is why I've written a book, and I just want to make sure I haven't got it in print. Okay, just about got it there. There we are. The working title is Numerology, an enhanced interpretation, because I work with 12 numbers. Now, with Pythagorean numerology, there's also this other little hiccup, okay, that they talk about master numbers. This would lead people to believe that one number is better than the next. Well, I'm telling you, this is not the case. Every single number has the same level of importance because in order to go through the number system, you have to hit each one. Even if you're going upstairs, you've got to pass over each step. If you're taking steps two at a time, you can step on step one and step three, but you still got to get over step two. Okay, these are just things to think about. Now, I know there's numerologists out there that will swear that the 9-bit number system is absolutely solidly accurate. Okay, I love the idea. Okay, and I do work with numerology, don't get me wrong. But we also have that other little kicker, the number 9 in Pythagorean numerology is endings and beginnings. Much as this is accurate, okay, you cannot effectively put them into the same place if you're looking at an isolated setup. It is true. When you get done one thing, you come to the end of it, immediately you start a new path. Absolutely accurate. But from a numerological standpoint, there has to be an ending point. Okay, there's got to be something. It's kind of like writing books. You've got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, writing books, writing reports, you name it. Even writing letters. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Okay, but with numerology, they're taking it to an all new level. Okay, we're going to say that this number, if it repeats itself, it's a master number. Meaning, that would mean that somebody that is 11 years old is more important than somebody that is 1. Okay, and much as they may be more viable in the work field or many other areas, it doesn't make them more important. And again, guys, if you got a question, absolutely ask. But please put your name, put your leave, put the questions in all caps so I can find them. Okay. Now, one of the things we have to look at with numerology, everything does vibrate at the same time, at a different rate. And here's where it gets interesting. Okay, we're going to go completely cross-eyed on you and look at this whole idea of marriage. Okay, there is one reason for changing a name in marriage. Okay, when you work out your name, it's got a certain spelling and therefore a certain vibratory rate. When you take on another name, okay, it's going to alter the vibrational rate of your very existence. Okay, in other words, you're closing down one section of your life and opening up another. Okay, this is very important to keep to keep an eye on, because many of you, there's this neat little movement of, oh yes, I want to commit to this person, I want to get married, I'm not taking your name. Okay. Now I heard of a lady one day, and this was a viable reason. Okay. In her case, she did refuse to take her husband's name. Okay. But now, whether this was said as a joke or whether this was the person's real name, you get to figure out. Okay. But this person had met somebody who was very in love with the person, and they absolutely refused to take the boyfriend's last name in marriage. The boy's last name was Blow, and she absolutely refused to take the boy's last name. Okay, to the point she was so adamant about it that they ended up breaking up. But you got to understand, her first name was Anita. Okay, now in a situation like that, think about how that runs together. But when you're looking at marriage, where you're looking at where you're living, master numbers don't work. Okay, it leads one to believe that the other person is of more value. Okay, so I started looking at it and went, okay, Pythagorean numerology work is based on 9 numbers. Okay, but every system out there that works well is based on 12, which is why I discovered, when I started looking into it, I started looking into what I call universal numerology. Okay, which is essentially base 12. But the reason for that is because with the system I use, there is only one number and one letter that has the vibration of 1. Okay, the rest of them all build on after. And the way you work that out is you start at 1, even with Pythagorean. Start at 1. When you get to 10, when you get to 9, you start back over at 1. Okay, this is where it gets hiccuped with the system I work with. And yes, like I said, I am documenting it. I'm just tying off and doing the editing on it now. Well, not right now. I work with 12. One complete cycle at 12, you start over. But at that point, you've got one complete cycle plus one number, making 13, or one complete one. You'd think it would be 13, but what it is a complete cycle and one number, making 2, not the value of 1. Okay, again, everything builds on each other. It is all interconnected. But when you start looking at that, you've got to realize that numerology, now the calculations, when you look at the breakdown, when you look at any of the numerological books out there that tell you what the various numbers mean, okay, and what the combination mean, absolutely pay attention. It's not a question of the interpretation is a problem. The problem with numerology is the numbering system. Okay, and this is why. And as a matter of fact, yeah, I gotta get that done. So let's do that. Just making a note here because I got some work I gotta do tonight and tomorrow. Just making a note on my, as you know, I keep a list. Check it twice. Gotta find out who's naughty and nice. You know the routine. Except I'm not Santa Claus. So, when you look at it, absolutely understand that the vibratory rate of everything is interconnected. Okay, absolutely necessary to keep in mind. And once you start paying attention to it, you'll be able to figure out where you're standing. Now, where am I here? 112 is. See, now I've literally started pulling everything apart in my life. Needless to say, the more I understand how my life is going, the easier it is to see the hiccups. And this is why we're going to be looking at the world in a much more complete fashion over the next number of months. I figure I'm going to upset somebody. I may as well see what I can do about upsetting everybody. Hopefully, all I get them to do is think, but time will tell. Now, what do I got here? I'm just checking to make sure I didn't miss something over on the screen. Because I've got my camera here, but up here is where I've got the second screen that I can actually read. Works out rather nicely. But take a look at the vibratory rate of each thing you're working with. Numbers vibrate at a very specific sequence. When the vibratory rate matches, you've got solid objects. They cannot pass between each other. When you vary the vibratory rate, that's when matter can pass beyond. Now, this may be why people are thinking in terms of different dimensions. It may just be a terminology thing. I'm still working on that. Okay, well, I appreciate that, Philip. Philip's just going, I'm not upset. Of course, I'm still trying to figure out if it's possible to upset you. I'm not trying to by any means, sir, Philip. But when you take the vibratory rate of what is going on, okay, all things, all matter vibrates at its own level. It's when those vibratory rates mesh, when they match, that you get physical form, because that's how you end up with solid form. Okay, when it comes to Pythagorean numerology, there are a number of hiccups that don't add up. Like, for instance, we know every healing process and program out there, whether it's to break out, not everyone. Okay, I found, when we take a look at, for instance, quitting drinking. Okay, fabulous program out there called Alcoholics Anonymous. Another one, if you're looking at quitting drugs, is Narcotics Anonymous. Woo Rider, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Uh-oh, we're breaking into song, are we? I forget who the artist was, but I remember the song. Yeah, Phil goes, bullies upset me. I don't like when people are being bullied. That's actually not a bad idea. I was looking for that, and I think that's an excellent place to go. Okay, like I watch the chat room guys because that's where I get my ideas as far as what topic to work with. So let me get my stuff off of my calendar so I can actually see the dang thing. Get that up there. what do I got? That is Tuesday, so Wednesday, Thursday we won't be here. That makes Friday. Why don't we deal with that on Friday the 28th? Why don't we deal with that whole little issue? Okay, that issue of bullying, because it takes place around the world. Will goes, isn't AA and NA for quitters? Well, in all fairness, the answer is hopefully. But it's for people that desire to quit for their own benefit. Many people use them to quit because somebody else says. You know, Lauren, how you doing? Glad you could join us. But and I just decided on this because it came up. So on the 28th, let's deal with coping with bullies. Identifying and coping with bullies. People have taken it to way too much of an extreme, so I'm not going into that right now. Yes, we're getting into some interesting topics, interesting areas. But that said, when we look at the vibratory rate of things, it's an interesting situation. Okay, everything builds on itself. Now, the neat little thing with Pythagorean numerology is people go, I started looking at it going, why do they use base 9? Why are people using Pythagorean numerology? Well, it's the same reason that humans work with base 10. And many of the reptilian races tend to work with base 8. Here's why. We ran out of fingers. Okay, humans work with 8 fingers and 2 thumbs, 10 digits. Okay, but it was literally the way that my hands are formed that got me thinking about it, because people started working with 10 fingers. Okay, you get 1, 2, 3, you get the idea. With other races, they've only got 8. Or when you take a look at, for instance, you take a look at the Korlock. The Korlock don't have fingers at all, which makes their numbering system really interesting. But what we have to look at is the vibratory rate of what you're working with. Okay, now, it's all laid out very nicely in lots of books. If you're looking for Pythagorean, for standard numerology. Now, what I did find with standard numerology is for figuring out where you are, where your strengths are, it works fine. Okay, when you start looking at universal issues and what's going on the bigger picture, the problem arises because Pythagorean only applies solidly if you are working with people that work with base 10, with Pythagorean mathematics. Okay, I work with base 12. Okay, and that's what the book is that I'm writing. Okay, yes, I got a lot of them on the go. But when you start looking at, we take a look at the numbers. Okay, you get your beginning, you get various different issues around it. And in all honesty, I got away from Pythagorean numerology. I just wanted you to look at the hiccups. Okay, do your own reading, your own research. Okay, wonder if that's what that book is. I gotta look because now I'm curious. If I go over here, nope, that is not what I thought it was. So we'll leave that alone. That was the other thing. When you take a look, and I was mentioning the 12 number system the 12-step system working. Okay, and they're all interconnected. So if they're all interconnected, why, pray tell, does numerology work with only 9 numbers and astrology works with 12? Okay, now I looked at it and went, there's got to be a reason for it. When you start taking a look at numerology, it meshes very nicely with astrology. It also, by the way, when you take a look at the enhanced numerological outlook, it fits very nicely with the 12-step programs that you see in so many successful companies. Like I said, Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, NA, many business plans. Okay, many companies work with segregating things into 12 compartments. Okay, and there is a reason for that. Okay, and the big reason is this. Even when you take a look at the Galactic Council, they have a council of 12. And there cannot be a split decision there because of one little detail. If they are presented with a question and they take a vote on it and it comes up 6 and 6, the person asking the question has to handle things and has to make their own decision. Okay, and you'll find this is consistent throughout a number of topics we're going to be dealing with over the next little while. Neat part about it is that as things start to come together, because my brain finally kicked back into gear, I'm not going to get into why or how for that matter. Okay, but I will tell you, as the books come available, I'm going to pop them on the PDF form on the Buy Me a Coffee link up top, which is buymeacoffee.com/inner voice J. Okay, now the neat part about all of this is once you start understanding how numerology works, you can actually modify the energy in your house by simple layout. Okay, by simply modifying what you've got set up. What do I got here? 20, which is 1 and 8 is 9. Discrimination. Okay, now it doesn't matter what we're looking at, it can be broken down. And like I said, if you're looking for detailed information on the formulae, in other words, well, what is the meaning of the first letter of your most used name? Or what is the vibratory rate of your primary name, of your signature? Okay, all of these things add together. The question is not are there formulas right? The question is, do I see a flaw? And for that matter, at this point, do you see a flaw in the numbering system? Okay, I have never found in all of my searching, I've never found one number to be more important than the next. And I'd lay odds you had the same thing. How many of you out there have had 2 first birthdays where nothing else was being brought to bear? Okay, people don't have their first birthday several times over. Now, I've got a bit of an anomalous situation in my case. Okay, and that is, and many people have had this problem, but may not remember it to the day. Okay, now I know from my birth certificate. Okay, when I was born, thing that I've got going for me or going against me, I don't know which, is I've got a second birthday where I remember to the minute when I walked out of the morgue. Okay. works out well. And yes, I said out of the morgue. You know, Rise of the Dead. That was a movie we all enjoyed. Well, actually, we probably didn't all enjoy it. But you take a look at the vibratory rate of things and the number value on, and we have to work with number values. You got to have a common denominator somewhere. Okay. The number value of whatever you're working on alters as you go along. And no, I'm not, quite seriously, I'm not looking at doing a whole pile of calculations. I just want you to, I just desire you to realize one thing. Master numbers, by their very definition, by their very title, is likely to lead one to believe that that is a more important, more powerful position than any other number. Okay. I think, Philip, that was supposed to say I don't have a birth time. Because I'm pretty certain you know when your birthday was. But I looked at numerology and went, okay, if it works, it's got to be internally consistent. Well, we have 12-step programs that work. The calendar that we use here in the West is a 12-month calendar. The clock is a 12-hour clock. Now, if you run Pythagorean numerology, okay, and you take a look at it, and you look at the clock, you're going, it only accounts for 9, but we got 3 numbers floating that apparently don't work. Okay, except we look at in standard Pythagorean calculations, your 10 becomes the second one on the clock. 11 becomes a master number. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, 11 o'clock is not more important than 12 o'clock. Or for that matter, 2:30, which is usually when about I get up. Okay. But we've got the 12 steps, we've got the 12-hour clock, we've got the 12-month calendar. We have all kinds of neat little 12-step programs. Okay. And of course, we got that other neat little thing. You go through the first 12 years of your life. Before you become a teenager, you've already gone through 12 steps. Then you hit 13, which is not a number 1. It is not a number 2. It is one complete cycle of 12 plus a spare. Okay, and it carries on. Oh, yeah, Storm goes, don't forget the 12 disciples. Yeah, might be an idea. So thank you for that. And again, they all did their thing. But this happens consistently. So why take Pythagorean numerology and go, we're only going to count for 9. Okay, and the rest of them we're going to let travel. Now, I mean, that's real tempting, but no. We are going to take a look at a couple of things just going to annoy some people. For me, it's actually really kind of a relief. Now, you'll notice we can take a look at some of those terrible things that happened in the past, like the hangman's noose that has 13 knots in it. Okay, mind you, the gallows used to have 13 steps to get up to those 13 knots. 13 is a number 2. That sounds really bad, especially if you're just a little toddler. Then the number 2 takes on a whole different ballgame of information, and you get to piece that together. But all of these things, Rachel, where are we here? I do think Rachel's been in here for a bit. Yep. Now, Phil's just offering up that there are 4 noble truths and eightfold path. 2 adds up to 12. I do not know what path that comes from, what spiritual line that comes from, Philip. And if you'd be kind enough to just post in the chat room what belief structure that falls into. Because I frankly haven't heard of it before, but the mathematics works. And there are a number of things that we'll have to take a look depending on what that shows up. Because I'm looking at just literally getting people to think. Okay. And numerology has a lot of value. Okay. 3, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Even when you take a look at the numbers in that neat little sign I did, I am worth it. Those numbers are 10. Okay. And 10 is simply the number of acceptance in the enhanced numerology. There we go. Thank you very much, Philip. I'm going to have to, I'm wondering if I've got that. Again, my curiosity gets the most of me and the best of me on occasion. Not that one. What did I do with it? I don't know what I did with it. Okay, well, that was enough looking for that. Yep, that was enough looking. I do believe I've got the Book of Buddha, but I'm going to have to wait until I read 2 other books first. Where are we here? Oh, there we are. The neat part about all of this is, again, when we take a look at the numbers, okay, numbers are phenomenal. And it literally boils down to, you take a look at what you're looking at. Now, of course, if you take a look at the basis of numerology, okay, you have this neat little thing where, yes, 1 is your starting number, but you've got to have 3 in order to have a stable landing point. Okay. The bipedal genome is one of the most unbalanced landing points that exists. Okay. The most stable tends to be, tends to be 3, which gives Vulcans an upper hand. Okay. But everything vibrates, like I said, even when we look at the dimensions, and people say, oh, I come from a higher dimension. Flat out, in my experience, if you are detectable, and that is detectable, not detestable or delectable. That's detectable in this reality. You're in the 3rd dimension. Now, I do know of 11 others. Okay, but that's a topic for another day altogether. But again, we come back to this thing of 12. And of course, you'll notice, and this is why I'm walking over here. You'll notice with an astrological wheel, this system is the 12th house system. Okay. That is because it works like a charm. Okay. But it ties together. And again, you can tell so much more. If you're just working with numerology or with astrology, you take a look at the signs. They talk about the houses. Okay. But the neat part about it, bring this back over here. There's your Aries. Okay, first house being Aries. Works all the way around. Again, we get back to this 12. Okay, every time you look at the systems that work, they don't talk about a 9-step system that works like a charm. Okay, they don't talk about a 9-step system to make things work a little better for you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I've just had a thought cross my head here. As far as some of the other connections, but I'm looking at numerology, and we will cover more of it later. But again, if you do have questions, absolutely ask. But when you're working with numerology, understand it's got to be consistent inside all of it. Okay? If your system is not consistent and applies to everybody under the same set of rules, there's a flaw in the system. And this is why I'm looking at it going, base 9 doesn't work well. Works great for humans in a human localized environment. But when you start aiming at looking at global events, it doesn't work. Because the reality doesn't work as efficiently as it could. And yes, there are numerologists out there that are saying going, you're full of it. You shouldn't be even on air because you're just absolutely full of it. They said the same thing about people all across the ages, that we're thinking in a different fashion. And rest assured, I definitely think in a different fashion. But when you're looking at numerology, okay, take a look at it. Does it make sense that that any number should be qualified as master? Okay, I'm pretty certain in the human race, we had this funny little thing used to have what they called slavery. Okay, where slaves were considered lesser people. Now, rest assured, slaves were not only one color. Okay, and there's all kinds of can openers that we can go through there. They're also not only one age. Whoop. Okay, yeah, Phil was just going, I understand time is the 4th dimension, but the 5th dimension or higher dimensions are way beyond my current mental grasp of physics. Yeah, and we will have to get into that, I think. But here's the thing. Time itself, okay, when we look at the vibratory rate of that, and you just had the wrong flavor. I'll get there, that's another issue. When we look at time is literally, when I say it's relative, I mean it is relative to the individual, not to what's going on. Okay, time actually applies in all of the 12 dimensions. Okay, and it applies the same way. Now, when you take a look at the vibratory rate of things, okay, and, well, let's take a look at that just because it's a curiosity thing. Okay, that's 7, and O is 15, which is 4, 4. Or we have 4, 4, 7. Okay. That's neat. Both are 15s. Okay, now get this. This is just a real quick little issue. I just did a quick calculation. Okay. Now, oh, that's not right. That's the one that I've got here. But if we do that, we've got 7. 7, 5, 4. Okay, now, here's the funny part about it. Okay, when you take a look at numerology, the order that things are laid out in changes the vibratory rate of the situation. Slavery is one of these things that I absolutely do not agree with. It's an enhanced form of bullying. Even back in 1760, when I actually was a plantation owner down in southern Louisiana. I owned 3 plantations. Yes, I employed slaves. I absolutely did. But I only ever bought 2. But when you look at numerology, they've got all these standard numbers, and you've got these things called master numbers. Well, that is, as Phil pointed out, it's kind of, you look at it, and slavery isn't fun, that's for certain. But when you've got a master number and a standard number, all of a sudden you got these normal numbers looking at the master number going, oh, what should we do, oh master? That is not the way reality works. It's a cute thought. Okay, but when we take a look at that, we have to realize that a simple shift, when you have your own life that you're working with, okay, you make all the decisions. When you have a second person to deal with, now you've got compromises. And get this, okay, the whole theory of relativity, okay, the formula you guys have been working with is brilliant. It's an absolutely accurate formula. Unfortunately, it is not the all-encompassing one that was originally tried to be laid out. And yeah, I'm sitting on it. That whole one is simple. 1 plus 1 equals 3. Now, understand, once you grasp that concept, okay, and you can start working with it, you can figure out how to take your ideas, combine them with somebody else's to come up with a completely new idea. Okay, again, everything is connected. All of it. Where we run into a problem is people are looking for the easy way. Now, with Pythagorean numerology, most of it can be done in your head. If you don't have a calculator, you got 10 fingers. Well, 10 digits anyway. But as you can see, doesn't work that well for me. This is finally healing back to where it belongs. But because the reality of it is this, all things, okay, all things are interconnected. And once you get an idea in your head and you finally grasp it, you cannot unthink it. Okay, now is the time for us to really take a look at all these different nations, all these newly discovered or newly identified genders, and combine things back down to a smaller number. Okay, just a thought. But when you're looking at Pythagorean numerology, it stops at 9. But what do you do? Now understand, with universal, what I call universal, and I'll come up with a better name for it. Okay, matter of fact, that might be something to work on. But why go only part way to the one thing that virtually everybody around the world, of the organizers, of the developers, have agreed upon, that the 12-step system works? So why stop at 9? Okay. I mean, Pythagorean numerology, we work with base 10. Okay. The Pythagorean method even cuts that back to 9. Okay. So it falls right outside the realm. And now we just have to figure out how to put it together. Now, with this in mind, okay, when you start looking at it, you finally understand that having things balanced out, understanding the numerological side, yeah, I agree with you there, Philip. Well, like this, my fiance is actually teaching me how to use this. Reminding me is more to the point. Okay, and for those of you that don't recognize it, that is an abacus. Okay, that is a computer before the modern computers were built. Personally, I still find this thing works much better. But I'm curious about the abacus, and for that matter, about working with reading Braille. Now, I'm going to end up reading Braille by eyesight, not by hand. Okay, I don't have the sense of touch to work on on Braille with my fingertips. But all things vibrate at a different rate. Okay, and yes, even the colors vibrate at a different rate. But where it comes to the spelling of things, we got to remember they vibrate to a different rate according to the person viewing them. Meaning, if you speak English, then the number, the word brown has 5 digits. Okay, it's got 5 parts. If you speak French, it's got 6. Okay, and it literally boils down to numerology, much like feng shui. Okay, works in conjunction with the basic vibration of the observer. Okay, I think there's a scientific law on that one too. Well, Philip, just a thought. Okay, my father used to say, "It's a bad day if you can't learn something new." Just a thought. Okay, you mentioned here when you literally wrote, "We need to learn how to use these, the abacus." You've already identified that it's necessary to learn. Would be an idea, and it's one that I'm implementing. Okay, I already started implementing it, but with an abacus, with you bringing it up, it would be an idea to literally teach yourself, or find somebody that will teach you. Lunar, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Hopefully your day's been going well. The neat part about all of this is as you come to understand the various different practices, the various different tools to work with. Okay, I'm tangling with a lot of them. And now we're just starting to open the door and turn a couple of heads. Okay, get people thinking. Again, if you don't know, oh, absolutely, learner. Uh, you know, there's a lot of variations on that. Philip is just asking, what movies does your fiance like? From the golden age of Hollywood or newer? I ask because I like listening to old movies as I'm going to sleep. We've been watching a lot of NCIS lately, but she likes, from what I gathered, she likes a lot of the movies that are based in history. Okay, now whether they're written in the modern world or whether they're from the golden age, I don't know. Of course, I have trouble separating it anyway. but take a look at the vibratory rate of what's going on around you. Okay, and as you get to understand it, absolutely put it to work. Oh, I bet what I'll do is I'll ask her next time I'm talking to her. Okay, and get some information for you. Because yeah, she listens to the I forget what they're called, but she listens to ones. Considering she's completely blind, it's a different world. Now, thank you very much, there, Storm. We are down to the last 5, so this is where things get interesting. Okay, tomorrow we will be working with tarot. Some notable discrepancies. Okay, then on Tuesday we are going to, and you're going to love this. On Tuesday, we are going to be looking at world religions, a different view. Then that's on Tuesday. Then down on Friday, we are going to be looking at, no, wait a minute. My apologies. Monday, tomorrow we're looking at, what is it now? At tarot. On Tuesday, we'll be looking at the world religions. On Monday, we'll be looking at world religions. On Tuesday, we'll be looking at world politics. Then we're going to go down to Friday, the 28th, and we're going to deal with coping with bullies. Okay, we're starting to get into the big things. Okay, now, Blue Cruise, glad you could join us. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. That said, we are bringing it to a close tonight. I really want to say thank you all so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. We will be back again tomorrow. Okay. That said, until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.